We see he shows up to Washington. They wonder why a crackhead is making millions from the Chinese government, why the grandchildren are making money, the ex-girlfriend, the brother's widow that was also a girlfriend. Everyone's on the Chinese payroll. And yet, I'm the one that did 50 hours of testimony before Congress. I mean, he shows up. He's being terribly treated. I'm saying, wait a minute, I'm the guy that did 50 hours of testimony for treason, so we understand. Treason is a crime punishable by death. Hunter can go there, nothing wrong. Why are you being mean to me? It's like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old baby, right? It's like, I went because I'm a man. You show up, you deal with these things. I know it's nonsense, right? Russia was one of the largest lies ever perpetrated on the American public. And yet it was the gospel. There are those who still run with it as though it is such. And all of this stuff is designed to make sure that you guys lose faith in your country. And that's easy to do. But we actually have a chance to right that. The one good thing about the insanity that we've seen over the last few years is it's so ridiculous that people now get it. The lies, the deceit, the obfuscation, everything. Those people who are working hard, and I get it, man, like working hard to live their American dream, what hasn't been exported to China, what hasn't been sent abroad, what hasn't been totally destroyed. A couple minutes a day, they're listening in the background. Well, there must be some truth to that, right? I always say, is that true, or did you see it on CNN? Because they're two very different things. And that's a lot of what we're dealing with right now in this primary. You saw, it was sort of amazing, right? The hot mic moment yesterday with Chris Christie. Ron DeSantis called him to thank him. Wait a minute, so you thank a neocon design basically put in there to go after the America First movement, and then, Chris says the other part out loud, of course Nikki has no chance. She's, if the deep state could make a candidate in the lab as a fake conservative, you get Nikki Haley. She'd be a wonderful candidate for the Republican Party in 2008. It's like Hillary Clinton pretending to be a conservative. Doesn't work anymore. You guys get that. I keep seeing people touting, Bidenomics. I'm like, I don't know, man. I was a business guy before we got into this charming world of politics. And it's I can't think of a single metric where anyone is better off now than they were 3 years ago, even with COVID, frankly, right? They failed step after step. They're mortgaging our futures to the hilt. They're trying to get us into every war imaginable. And that's not just the Democrats. That's also the vast majority of the Republicans in Washington, D.C. And that's why they're going after Donald Trump the way they are. Right? You'd think some of these things would be fairly easy for someone like, Ron DeSantis to say, hey, the weaponization of the federal government and the DOJ against Joe Biden's primary political opponent would be wrong. But he's not going to say that. That would stand in the way of his ambition. They'll destroy your country to further their own goals and agendas. They couldn't care less. Again, that was evidenced by the call to Chris Christie yesterday. They're doing these things repeatedly. You notice the patterns, right? Ron did no, we really shouldn't get a war in Ukraine, Tucker Carlson. The next day, one of the billionaire donors calls, I have changed my mind entirely on this issue. They're beholden. The billionaire donors, the same people that shipped your American dream abroad and to countries that hate your guts, they want a candidate that when they call, jump. Yes, sir, how high? Right? They'll, oh yeah, we're America first, unless we can save half a cent on a widget. If they can save that half a cent, your jobs are gone abroad. Right? Nikki Haley was wonderful on the board of Boeing. How's Boeing doing these days? Doors are falling off planes mid-flight because that same consultant class that doesn't actually know anything about airplanes told them, hey, you can save that 2 cents on the plane if you, ship the jobs to China or India or have some engineer who's never actually built a plane tell you how to value engineer something. And then we're shocked when, a couple years later, doors are falling off planes in mid-flights, planes are dropping out of the air. You know, you combine that with what you see with, you know, DEI hiring practices. I don't know about you guys, but I'd like a pilot that actually knows how to fly the plane. Doesn't seem unreasonable. And yet these days, that, you know, that's sacrilegious. You've seen what's going on at what we once thought. One of them was my alma mater. You know, in universities, you had Harvard, MIT, Penn, now Johns Hopkins. You know, something that if you did, you'd be thrown out on your butts in about 2 seconds. But if they're installed puppet leaders, well, yeah, you can plagiarize. You can, you know, sort of support Hamas in the mass murder and rape of young women and girls in the streets of Israel. That's fine. It's different. It's not a violation of our policies when it's one of our puppets. That's what's going on in America today. The Democrats love to go around and say, hey, they're fascist. They're fascist. I'm like, I don't know. I don't see any Republicans out there trying to jail their political opposition. You know? Think what they want to put my father away. What is it, 1,000 years? I mean, you know, he's a young and vibrant man. You see that. You saw it in the town hall last night. A lot of energy. 1,000 years is a long time. For what? A fake insurrection? Like literally, just so we understand, the first unarmed insurrection in the history of the world. Yeah, we're innovative. We're good at stuff, but like I promise you, like the most heavily armed population in the world, if it was a real excellent insurrection, isn't showing up that way. It's the first insurrection where the tour guides, feds, or other people working in there, were actually armed, but the apparent insurrectionists were not. And we're led to believe that this is all the gospel, right? The media tells you this. Oh my God, you have CNN reporters as recently as, a couple days ago, crying. Thank you for, we're living a joke, right? It's literally a caricature of itself. But that's exactly what's going on in all of this. They're going after Trump because they understand Trump is the only guy that has the guts to stand up to this. The only guy that's going to call it out. The only guy that's not beholden to the puppet masters. And that's why they're going after him so much harder. And that's why, by the way, it's not just the Democrats. It's also the Republicans. Because guess what? There's been no consequences for Republicans when they fail miserably. There's no accountability. They get the same board seat that the woke general gets for failing. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. And that's why this Monday is so critical. Okay? We just have to send a message. I understand it's going to be -4, but if I can get my Florida butt back up here, I have gotten significantly softer living in Florida when it comes to being -4. Right? There was a time I could handle this. I'm a big outdoorsman. You live in Florida. Now, I can also deal with 120 with 4,000% humidity. It's a little different, right? Your body acclimates. It's probably age too, though I don't admit that lightly. If I can get back up here, everyone can get back up here. We can get out. We can participate in the caucus process. Don't forget, just like every other aspect of this thing for the last few years feels like it's been a psyop, because it has. They're trying to get you to have that apathy. They're trying to get you to sit up. Donald Trump is winning by 7,462 points. You should stay home. That's what they're trying to do. Because they want to say, when you win by even a large margin, they'll say, see, the walls are closing in. There's blood in the water. The deep state's preferred candidate in the billionaire donor class, Nikki Haley, is surging rapidly. Well, because everyone's like, we're winning by so much, we're sat at home. Why would you go out? It's -4. Don't think that way. Again, as evidenced by the call with Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis yesterday and Nikki Haley, right? They're working at this point for the Democrats. They're working for the D.C. insiders. They want you to stay home so they can drag that out, so the consultant class can say, no, we should fight this primary for another 6 months so that we can take, what was it? What did Jeff Rowe take from Ron DeSantis? About 68% of every dollar raised in $200 million super PAC? So we can keep enriching ourselves. That's how it works. That's the game. And Trump's exposed it. And that's why they're never going to stop. So, I just want to thank all of you guys in this. I get it, man. It's been brutal. I can promise you no one probably understands that better than me, other than perhaps my father. But what we're fighting for is worth it. What we're trying to gain back is worth it. When you look at what my father was able to accomplish when he was in charge it's astounding, but it's more astounding when you actually realize what he was actually up against. You know, the Republicans weren't with him, right? Paul Ryan shut down the wall. What could go wrong? Now we have, 15,000 people coming across a day. We're throwing kids out of their high schools so we can house illegal immigrants. You, by the way, the American taxpayer, have the privilege of paying for that. It's not just you. It's not just you paying for you and your kids and your grandkids and trying to give them something. You have the privilege of paying for now millions of more people coming here illegally, many of which, and, frankly, I think it's intentional, will probably never actually pay into that system. They will become dependent, because that's what the Democrat Party today offers. If you are a dependent, as long as you vote for them, they'll keep taking, they'll give you a little bit of something, and you too can eat cockroaches while Bill Gates, is eating filet mignon, and you too should sit at home and not drive your car while they fly in a G5 that burns more fuel in 1 hour than you will burn in your entire lifetimes. And you should have nothing and own nothing and be happy. That's not the America I grew up in. That's not the American dream. But it's what they'd have you believe is true. I mean, I'm watching, every day it literally feels like I'm waiting for, Ashton Kutcher to jump out of a cake and being like, you're being punked. No, seriously. I'm watching videos, yesterday of high schools in New York. Kids, we're going back to remote learning, which failed miserably, so that we can house illegal immigrants in there. Hotels in New York. Here's your voucher, and you're staying in a $500 a room night forever. We'll keep paying for it. Veterans in their 80s being thrown out of nursing care facilities again. They want to take that guy who's served his country, paid his taxes for 80 years, throw him out onto the streets so that they could give someone who came here illegally free room and board in perpetuity. I mean, it's hard to believe, right? They give you a hard time, you're not allowed to say Manchurian Candidate. I'm like, no, just let's play it out. If you were trying to destroy America from within today, what would you do differently than today's Democrat Party policies? And I don't say Joe Biden because, in all fairness, no one believes this guy's in charge of anything. I mean, he's not in charge of his own faculties, let alone decisions. But someone is, and he'll gladly sign it. Right? I mean, he can't find his way off a stage like this. That is. Hey, everyone makes a mistake. No one makes a mistake every day. Right? He falls upstairs. He falls downstairs. He can't find his way off a stage. He can't remember who he's introducing. I got to watch the Jill Biden interview. Oh, you don't see how hard Joe works. I go, no, he's been on vacation, statistically proven, 40% of his presidency. I mean, everyone likes a little vacation. If you're the president of the United States, you don't get to vacation. You certainly don't get to vacation 40% of the time. That said, when you actually see him in action, you say, maybe he's better off on vacation. Or maybe we are. Because it hasn't worked. I hear about Bidenomics. I'm like, again, hey, man. Full disclosure, I'm the son of a billionaire from Manhattan, and if I'm pissed off when I go to the supermarket, I'm not supposed to notice the difference. If I can be intellectually honest. I'm not pretending if I'm there, I was with my kids. We came back from a trip. I took two of my boys on a fishing trip, and I came back. We were in Anchorage Airport in Alaska, so I was on maybe one of those planes that the doors keep falling off. We went to McDonald's for an 11-year-old, a 14-year-old, and me. And it was $39. And like I said, if it was $50, it's probably not. I'm not telling them not to get whatever the heck that they were getting. But if I'm sitting there being like, man, that's crazy. What's it doing to someone making $60,000, working their ass off? I'm not supposed to know. And the politicians that we have representing us in D.C., they don't even get it. They don't even notice. Or they couldn't care less, and that's probably worse. But they couldn't because they keep doing it over and over again. It's Einstein's definition of insanity, right? Do the same failed thing over and over again and expect a different result. That's not going to happen. We actually had good prosperity. The lowest income earners were actually gaining under Trump. Those policies were working. We were holding China accountable. Now, it's like China's sitting there. This is the greatest thing that could ever happen to them. Yeah, guess what? The $1 billion they gave Hunter Biden, that's the greatest return on investment in the history of investing. And just so we're clear, they're not morons like us. They don't give $1 billion to a crackhead, I can assure you. They're not looking to diversify their portfolio managers by investing with crackheads. Only we're dumb enough to do this kind of stuff. They gave them that money for a purpose, and it's paying off. And we have people in D.C., even on our side, who aren't all that interested in looking at it. Guess what? Because they're all probably on the take as well. So we have an opportunity to do something, but we have to do it soon, and we have to do it now. Honestly, at this point, I do believe if we don't sort of all get together as a country in this election, that's over. I mean, you know, what they're trying to do, the things they're implementing, the rights they're infringing on, you know. If you're in J6, guess you broke a window. You're in jail for 17 years. You know, if you burn down a Target in an entire city block in Seattle, Portland, Kenosha, that's like, wow, you're a hero. Like, I'm trying to understand this one, but, you know, when I ask them to explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old, they can't do it, but it doesn't matter. They're actually still doing it. Again, the people who've screamed about fascism and democracy, you know, the loudest, seem to be acting a lot like fascists. You think that stops? You think that gets better if it's not Trump? Or do you think this is just the gateway drug for them to going all in? To me, that's a no-brainer. You know, and like I said, for me, it was a lot easier to be a real estate developer from New York City. I make a lot of money. I got invited to all the cool person parties. But I actually believe in this stuff, and I believe in our country. I have 5 young kids, and I know how that happens now. Got some new hobbies. But now that I got them, we got to actually leave them a country that they recognize, that they can live that American dream. And so we just got to get out there and do that. We got to treat Monday as though we're 10 points back. Again, they want that apathy, the consultant class, the media. They're trying to create the narrative of failure. You can just see it because they say these things out loud at this point. Like it's like, you know, everyone owes their conspiracy theorist uncle a big apology for the last 7 years because they were right about everything. The media got virtually nothing correct. But it doesn't stop them from doubling down, doesn't stop them from telling you that they're the elite, they somehow know better. It's a problem, and I think we can rectify that. It starts right here in Iowa. So I just want to thank all of you guys for all of your efforts. I know that, you know, like I said, it's not easy. It's not easy to be a conservative. It's less easy being vocal about that. It's much harder being a Trump-supporting conservative. But what we're all fighting for is so worth it. It's so important. And honestly, I think, you know, America's the last bastion of any of this. I mean, when we look at some of the people, we think, hey, they're just like us. You know, the UK, like, you know, if you misgender someone, they'll put you in jail for 2 years, just so we understand where we're going. You know, it used to be like, they're like us. You know, unless you call a dude, you know, a dude. Like, you know, right? It's like, you know, oh, you grew your hair out a little. Yeah, I've had a mullet too. It doesn't make me a chick, but, you know, I can pretend. You know, New Zealand and Australia, you saw the draconian lockdowns. You know, hey, our friendly neighbors to the north, Canada, they're a democracy kind of, right? Yeah, they're arresting reporters in the streets for asking about, you know, questions that reporters should ask. Questions that reporters in this country should ask, but they're too busy being regime propagandists. They're not journalists. Like, you know, come on. If today's media was doing for the Republican Party what today's media does for the Democrat Party, the Federal Elections Commission would be in there and say, hey, these are in-kind contributions. You know, you're working for them. And let's just say you've way exceeded your max. But again, it's not just our ideas versus the Democrats' ideas. It's our ideas stymied, shut down, canceled by big tech, trillion-dollar institutions, the mainstream media, while their nonsense, their lies, are artificially boosted by the same thing. So we're not in a fair fight. We can't pretend that we are. And again, and that's why it's going to take someone as strong as a Trump to actually change something. Someone who does have the guts to do something about it. Someone who could have gotten out of this 3 years ago, said, hey, I did what I needed to do. I checked off another incredible accomplishment box. Let's just move on and have a good life. But he understands what's happening. It's why he got in this to begin with. Promise you, he had it pretty good. I got to piggyback off of some of that stuff, and it was easy. It was, it was pretty good. But now that we're in this, we're not going to stop because it's not what we do. We fight. And what's sort of interesting, you see it going on today in New York and yesterday in Atlanta, and people are starting to get it. Again, the attacks, it's so ridiculous, right? The prosecutor in Atlanta happened to hire someone to try a criminal case who'd never tried a criminal case before, paid him almost $750,000. And they happened to be sleeping together and going on vacations, lavish vacations together with that money. I mean, it's over and over again. Oh, the one in New York, they're going to visit the Biden White House. I'm like, so criminal fraud, what does that have to do with the Biden White House? Why are you going there to meet there? Unless, of course, you're doing what everyone knows they're doing. So what's nice about it, as brutal as it is for us to deal with on a daily basis, is they're showing their hand. You understand the game that they're playing. By the way, if they'd done one, pick one and see it through. But again, 1,000 years and the death penalty, I don't know, doesn't seem fitting. So I think we've woken up a lot of people. I think they understand what we've lost in the last few years. They understand the lies that they've been pushed. It's not coming out. Joe Biden can go up and then tell you that Bidenomics is doing such a great job. But like I said, if I can feel it, everyone can feel it. And everyone does feel it. So for me, as I travel around the country, as I do this stuff, I can assure you, the enthusiasm is unlike anything I've ever actually seen before. So, let's get out there on Monday. Let's make sure everyone shows up. Call all your friends. If I can get my butt back up here in -4, you guys can get all your friends out to vote. Let's finish this thing early. Let's finish it strong. So just thank you all so much for what you're doing, and really appreciate it.